What is going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a good Thursday. Sorry about the delay. There's a lot of stuff going on this morning. Got a little medical procedure and then all the prep stuff I had to do on the phone. It took a lot longer than I thought, so a little bit longer than I was hoping for. I will be gone tomorrow, pretty much for the most part. Um, but we're going to get into today. Yesterday was not my day. Uh, Sheets and I didn't win anything, so I don't know what to tell you guys. We finally people were saying we were winning too much, so they stopped it, and there you go. You got what you wanted because we did not win anything last night. No, I'm just sort of messing around here, but anyway, we're gonna go game by game here and just talk through this slate quickly and sort of give an idea of where we're at in the beginning. We do want to advise people, like, again, as I mentioned, every day, we're raising prices very soon, and you will be grandfathered in if you join now. We probably have a couple more weeks, but there's a bunch of tools and a bunch of other stuff we're adding that I think is going to be really awesome, both for DFS and for sports betting in general. So wanted to mention that. And with that said, I wanted to try to get into this slate. Hi, Eric. How you doing, man? All right, let's jump into it. We're going to start off with Chicago and Orlando. Some of these early projections, I think, are going to balance out a little bit. We obviously have a lot of questionables on Chicago. All these guys ended up sitting the other night. I really don't know what they're going to do. They actually played really well without them. So I'm not quite sure how to get a read on this one this early in the day. As of right now, it would pretty much just be Lonzo for me. I guess Jalen Smith, when there looks like no value, but there's going to end up being value. But I think it's still a reasonable guy to take a shot on, but mostly it would be Lonzo for me at the moment on the Chicago side. Obviously not a great matchup against Orlando and a slow-paced team. On the other side, the flip side, I will do the same thing I say every day, go out of my way to make sure I get one of Franz or Paolo. Today, Paolo is going to be a little bit lower owned. He's only a tiny bit more expensive. I think they're both extremely reasonable. And if Cole Anthony is a go, I'm interested in him as well. So obviously a huge bump up for Orlando. I even think Wendell Carter, a little Wendell Carter revenge, is not the worst idea. This is a spot where I'd like to be overexposed, so I'm likely going to increase my projections to get the type of ownership that I actually want from this game, because I think it's a great spot for Orlando. Philadelphia and Boston. It's funny. Eric just said Wendell Carter season, the question mark. Is there such thing? But I don't know if there's such thing as Wendell Carter season, but I actually do think that he's a very reasonable play tonight, especially if Cole Anthony's out. Just opens up an extra piece of usage that he sort of becomes the third usage guy instead of the fourth. But we'll see. We'll see about that with Anthony. I do think Wendell Carter is kind of interesting. And I'm interested if he actually ends up as low owned as he's looking. Philadelphia is probably going to get crushed tonight by Boston. Now, it doesn't always happen. Some of the games they've played, though, even the close ones, like they got blown out by, was it the Knicks? And they ended up losing by like 5 or 6 because of a late run that literally they were never really that close. But it was like it was not a real. I just have a hard time seeing how they stay close in this one. I still think there's some pieces that are interesting. I can't overlook what Quentin Grimes is doing, and he's mildly interesting to me. Paul George is interesting to me. Kelly Oubre is a little bit interesting to me, and then Yabu and Drummond I think are both fairly reasonable. But again, I don't love this game environment, so I don't want to have like more than maybe 1 or 2 from Philly at the most. And of course, that depends on Paul George and Justin Edwards being out. Then it opens up some more. We also have to think about Lonnie Walker again as potential value, but not the most exciting play in the world. So gonna have to revisit this one a little later when we go live at 6. Boston on the other side. On the back-to-back, all the questionables, I don't even know how we're supposed to break this down. If any of these guys are out, which they're going to be some of them, we already have Horford doubtful, but they haven't changed his projection yet. It's just, I think there's a good chance that a bunch of guys sit, especially against Philly here. So we obviously had Jaylen Brown and all those guys play last night. Maybe Kristaps and Holiday play today. And maybe gives Derek White or Jaylen Brown a rest. My guess is there's going to be a lot more activity we have on the Boston side today, but I don't know what it's going to be just based on all these Q tags. It makes it really, really hard to judge this time of the morning. I know it's not the best answer, but that's what basketball is right now. Here is the game environment I want to target the most. I'm willing to go ahead and bump up Halliburton, assuming that he plays his projection, and just take shots. I keep mentioning this. When you're playing Atlanta and when you're playing in the Indy, you kind of have to just like almost throw out not throw out the projections, but you kind of have to like change, make sure you're getting a little bit overexposed versus the field. They're just too good at game environments for guys not to go crazy. Right now, Halliburton would probably be my favorite, followed by Siakam. Then I would get to Turner. Then probably Nemhart, then Neesmith. That would be the way I'd rank them. I don't even mind a little bit of TJ McConnell. But again, Halliburton and Mathurin both questionable. Going to be hard to figure that one out at this moment. On the Atlanta side, obviously a good pace game for them as well. I like Trey the other night. He was really good. 9,800. They raised his price a little bit. I still like him quite a bit in this matchup. He would be my most desirable player from Atlanta, along with Okongwu. And I think because of the lack of value is why Niang and Risa Shea are showing up so much. My guess is by the end of the day, that's not going to be the thing. So I think it's going to be mostly Trey Young, LeVert, and Okongwu for me from the Atlanta side. That's my highest level of interest anyway. And every time Eric's asking questions, right? Every time I look over, Eric's asking a question, I'm just answering. So we're on the same wavelength here. Oh, they already did announce Porzingis, Drew, Jalen, and Horford all out. So we'll revisit Boston if we can get some updated projections. I don't think they're going to update in time for us to get there on the show. But basically, I mean, I'll go through it at the end just in case they do, but I don't think they're going to have that ready yet. That's going to make that sort of like the game we have to probably stack now and hope that it stays close. It kind of sucks. It's not going to be a huge total game, but yeah, I think these 7:30 games are the game so far the games that look the most appealing. This one is not. I'm not quite as high as the field. Steph has been just unconscious lately. I have no issue playing him. I'm not going to go out of my way to play Draymond, but I don't mind if I have a little bit of it. I'll probably be under the field, and I'll probably be right near the field on Podziemski. He's been really good. And Brooklyn fights hard enough to where they can probably keep it, close enough-ish. D'Angelo Russell's going to have a game, games off and on. It's like literally like they're playing everybody in the 20s. I mean, what do we have him for today? 25 minutes. Not the most exciting play in the world, 5,200. I think it's going to look even worse. But at low ownership, I think there's upside for him here against his former team. So I'm going to take some shots, and I'll probably end up bumping him up a little bit and just thinking maybe there's a chance he can get to 28 or 30 minutes. And it is his former team. He knows them. He's a guy who has been pretty vengeful in the past in terms of just taking a bunch of shots in these situations, or at least, having good games. So I like D'Angelo Russell the best, but no one else who fits the priority category. I don't mind the idea of Claxton. I actually like Day'Ron. I think I might like Day'Ron Sharpe better than Claxton well. They're both effective players. I think Day'Ron Sharpe is going to turn into something. I've just been impressed by him. So, but right now it would mostly be the D'Angelo Russell, which this 15% ownership by the end of the day is not going to be as high is my guess, just because you're going to get so much value out of that Boston game and probably some other spots we haven't even thought of yet either. Brooklyn. Oops, let me go back to Brooklyn real quick. I'm sorry. The only other one I would consider as like a large field play that I think is kind of interesting. Actually, both of them, Cam Johnson and Watford, in sort of different veins. Cam Johnson's projection is a little lower than I thought it would be, and I think he has the highest minutes upside of anybody on Brooklyn. I certainly don't mind him, and if you think this game can stay close, he can certainly get hot and win you a tournament. So I don't mind that. I'm talking myself a little bit more into the Brooklyn side of things. I probably don't want to do that, so I'm going to stick with Russell as being the priority I would take, but nobody who you have to play from that game. Houston, you guys know what I'm going to do here. As I always mention, if we don't have Van Vliet, I'm going to be playing Şengün, Green, Eason, or Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson did not have a great game the other night. He still almost got there in the end. He had what did he end up with? Like 26-7 in the second half, 26, something like that. Fantasy points, of course. I think that you go out of your way, and it's another good pace matchup where New Orleans has been playing faster. I like the idea of getting to Amen, Şengün, or Green especially, and then Tari Eason I'm totally good with at 5,500. If I ended up with Dylan Brooks, so be it. I'm not going out of my way to try to do it. Same thing with Jabari Smith. But I do really have interest in the, one of the so-called studs, especially the big three, and then throw Tari Eason in the mix as well. I think you could even play two of them together in this matchup. So favorites would be Şengün, then Thompson, then Green. But you could just as easily argue it the other way around. So I'm good with the main guys from Houston. Definitely going to prioritize them a little bit later today. Look, not a great matchup, but Zion is getting more minutes, and not even like a crazy amount, but he's getting more, and he's got a massive ceiling against anybody right now. The one I would encourage people to take a look at if you wanted to get creative for the lottery is maybe in the lottery get to a little more Trey Murphy. He would be the one that I could certainly see myself talking myself into. It's a small slate. He's got the ceiling. He can get you 60 if it's the right kind of a night. I think Trey Murphy is kind of interesting. And New Orleans overall playing much better. They can forgive the loss to the Lakers the other night because the Lakers have been unbelievable. But I'm very very high on Murphy as a large field GPP dart. New York in LA. I don't have anything at the moment from New York. We obviously have some Q tags here. I think it's probably worth it to take a gamble on somebody potentially. Again, I mentioned a lot of names I like, and we're going to get all the Boston value stuff updated. It's probably not going to happen during this show, but I think we could start. I think we consider Towns here. I don't think it's a bad idea to take some shots with Cat. Lakers defense has been awesome. Oddly, without AD, they've been the number one defense in the NBA. I don't know. It's a very strange thing, but they've been really, really good, and really impressed by what JJ Redick and the team has done. But I like the idea of Towns a little bit, and I like the idea of Brunson, but I just don't love the price on Brunson. So I guess Towns would be my favorite, and then it is Josh Hart revenge, and he tends to have good games against us, but like 8,200 is just a lot. So I'm gonna have to see if I can force him in. Maybe just make him a lottery play, another one that you can just take a gamble on. Hope you get your 50 out of him in a matchup that it's got a high total here. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that these Luka projections are garbage. I think we got to get Luka back in that 60 median range. I really think that should be his his number, and or at least right around there. So I'm probably going to at least start off by bumping him up to 58. Just seems like an obvious thing to do. It's sort of his show, and LeBron has been incredible, but Luka is going to start having. Luka had a big game the other night. He didn't even shoot like crazy well or anything. I just think that we're going to start seeing more 65, 75s out of Luka than not. And if we can afford him, which I think we're going to get some value later today that will allow us to, he would be my favorite one. Second favorite would be Reeves, followed by James, but nobody who's a priority. They did bump up the price of Jackson Hayes. Now, what are they going to do here? So without Rui, can we get Jackson Hayes some more minutes and against a team that's going to have Cat out there? I think so, but it could go Vanderbilt's way. I'm gonna have to look a little further into this one. As of right now, I think Jackson Hayes makes for a tournament dart that's kind of interesting, but Luka's the main one I want to focus on from the Lakers today. So questions all out there. Yep, absolutely. Team Underground. Yesterday was rough. Back at it today. Eric likes Draymond. Is Shen Goat the top spend on the slate? Good question about who's the top spend. I think Luka's the top spend if you can get to him. Now it's hard to get to him at the moment, but with all these Boston guys that haven't been updated, you're going to end up with some value. So who is it? Let me just get the official list from Boston. I'm just going to double check. And that's going to dictate what you're able to spend up on. But I think I can argue that Luka's too cheap. So yeah, without Horford, Hauser, Holiday, Kristaps, and Jaylen Brown, I guess we're going to end up going right back to Peyton Pritchard. We're going to end up going right back to Luke Cornett, probably. Yeah, I actually think we're definitely going to be going after Luke Cornett. There's probably going to be some Keita in there, by the way, just because if it's not Cornett, it could easily be Keita. I think that's totally reasonable. And it was Derek White was not one of them, right? I think Derek White, assuming that he's a go, and Jason Tatum are obviously tremendous plays, but the value pieces would be not Hauser. Oh, Hauser's questionable. I'm sorry. I saw Hauser is out, but he's actually questionable still. If Hauser's out, different story. But assuming Hauser's in, he's going to actually be a pretty good value piece. So the slate doesn't look like a ton of value right now. There's going to be a lot more later. Not really. I ran some builds earlier on FanDuel, but no real reason to go over it because everything's going to change with this Boston news. So in terms of top spend ups, I like the Luka spend up myself. And I think it's more doable than it was when I started this 20 minutes ago or whatever it was. I think other than that, it doesn't have to be Şengün for them. I do like Şengün, but I think Luka's number one. I think I would go Trey number two, and then maybe Halliburton, then Şengün. But I want to get to one of those Houstons, so I'm gonna have to rethink about it. Actually, ahead of Şengün, even I might put both Magic guys, both Paolo and Franz. They're pretty close. All these guys are in a fairly tight range of guys I like. So gonna have to rerun things without this. I'll post all my stuff for our site members a little bit later today. And good luck to everyone. Yeah, we'll be live at 6 Eastern to go over the rest of this slate. Wish me luck on my procedure tomorrow. Like I said, I'm going to be out most of the day tomorrow, so I will try to get a morning show in, but I don't think I'm going to be available for live as I'm going to be having that stuff done, and I'll probably be unconscious. Anyway, but yeah, it should be a fun little slate. It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be just very Boston centric, which is probably going to make Philly a lot more appealing as well. I think that's sort of like a natural game stack that you're going to get to, whether you try it or not. I think it's where you're going to end up. I think going out of your way for Indy, Atlanta makes some sense. I like one of the Houston guys, and then I like Luka quite a bit, as well as the Orlando guys. So that's sort of just like a base outline of the I don't know, 16 or 17 players that I'm, going to be using. So I know it's a first look show, and we're not going to have a lot of things figured out by now, but we did want to get something out to you guys. Good luck to everybody today. Hope you guys crush it, and I'll see everybody live at 6 Eastern, and I will post my stuff in the Discord before that.